All right, nerds, who's ready to go to Portugal? I am. Let's go. Okay, specifically, we are going to the Douro in Portugal, and we are drinking a tinto. What does all that mean? Well, obviously, we'll get to that. All right, so bem-vindo a Nerdvine. Bem-vindo is how you say welcome in Portuguese, which is just kind of like a social point that I want to make. Bear with me. So Portuguese is not Spanish. When we went to Portugal, I remember asking the cab driver, I said, is thank you gracias? And he was like very offended. And he said, no, it's obrigado. I said, okay, great. So if you're going to go to Portugal, make sure that you learn a little Portuguese first. Anyway, that's my soapbox. Let's move on to Portuguese geography. The Douro in particular, Quinta das Carvalhas, which is from whence we are drinking today, the red grapes of the Douro, what's in the wine we're drinking, and of course, summary and preview. Also, I don't know if I'm going to keep this logo, but I don't know. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so Portugal, despite what many people think, makes more than just port. All right, that's that point. So the geography of Portugal, making these maps was a little bit weirder this week because it's like long and skinny. So here we have, obviously this part is Spain, but this is Portugal. Also of note, Portugal has a whole bunch of islands in the middle of the, I guess my hand disappears, in the middle of the Atlantic called the Azores. Ponta Delgada, great place if you're like, I just want to go to the middle of the Atlantic and cliff dive and eat a lot of cheese. Anyway, that's that note. Zooming in a little bit, here's Portugal, Porto. We'll keep zooming in. Yep, here we go. So here's Porto. Again, here is the border of Portugal. This over this way, I'll get this eventually, is Spain. So we can see this border very clearly. We're going to zoom in again. So for locating where you are, there's a word for that. Anyway, familiarization, wherever you are, here's Porto still. And then if you notice this little kind of sticky outy bit of Spain, we'll go back. So that's right there. We go forward. It's right there. It's important because I used it a lot during this kind of building of these slides to make sure I had the Douro in the right place. Now we'll go again, one more. Okay. This image that I have overlaid onto the map, I got from the Society of Wine Educators. This is their 2019, and I believe a little bit of the borders have changed because in the updated WSET books, the line between Baixo Corgo, I believe is how it's pronounced, and Cima Corgo is actually over here, which you will see in the next slide when I think I do the topography. Yes, so unclear why my pen was multicolored, but I was already tracing, so I apologize for how confusing this looks. So here is Baixo Corgo, here is Cima Corgo. These blue lines are the borders between them, and then over here, again, using this little jut out of Spain as my orientation, this is just the Douro DOC. So this just lets you know where this is in Portugal. It's pretty north, juts up against Spain. And the big part, because I kind of traced this river out also, this river is the Douro River, and it basically bisects this entire area. So that kind of that's the word I was looking for, that orients you to where we are in Portugal. Now, the climate of the three separate areas of the Douro, it basically goes from colder and wetter to drier and hotter. So keep in mind the sources where I got all of this climate information, and I cite them at the end, don't worry. I had to use specific cities within those DOCs because I can't get just climate information for the DOCs, unfortunately. Maybe I'm not good at internet searching, maybe it doesn't exist. So basically, for Baixo Corgo, which you'll see, this is the orange one, we have a lower average coldest temperature, a lower average hottest temperature, a lot of rainfall. These are in Celsius. This is in inches because otherwise my graph would have gotten really strange. And then our average daily, I had to do hours per day of sunshine because if I did total annual sunshine, again, the graph would have made absolutely no sense because I'm not comparing just Celsius to Celsius. I'm comparing Celsius to inches to hours. So it gets probably, my partner's a mathematician, and if he saw this graph, he might honestly start crying. And then we see kind of, this is interesting to me, the average coldest temperature in Cima Corgo was actually higher. Interesting. But then the hottest temperature is a good step up. The rainfall is a step down. The daily sunshine is just a little bit of a step up. And then we get to Douro Superior. You have not a very coldest temperature, definitely a warmer, hottest temperature, way less rainfall, and a lot more hours of sunshine. So this checks with what we would expect going from closer to the coast to more inland. We are going basically from, I don't think it's a maritime, it's probably a Mediterranean climate all the way to a continental climate. So lots of variation within these three areas of the DOC anyway. Okay, so Quinta das Carvalhas dates all the way back to 1759. It's a lot of documentation that's been built up to kind of make this deciding factor, but it's been around for a really long time. So where is it? More maps, yay! Okay, so here's the little jutty-outy part of Spain. And here's Porto. All right, we'll keep going. We'll zoom in a little more. Here's the Douro River, which is how I oriented myself for these maps. And I think we zoom in one more time. Yeah, okay, so the edge of this kind of screen capture that I took, that is the dividing line between Baixo Corgo and Cima Corgo. So you get an idea. This is pretty close to Pinhayo. I think Pinhayo is right here. I don't know why it's not on the map. So if you saw that in the earlier maps, or you want to go look at maps, because apparently I'm map obsessed, that's where we are. But we are right on the river, basically bisecting this whole area. Oops, I guess, oh wait, maybe this is the edge. Oops, I'm so sorry. One more slide of maps. This is actually the edge between Baixo Corgo and Cima Corgo. I guess we're going to zoom in one more time. Yep, there we go. Okay, we zoomed in for the topography. That makes sense. This is the edge between the two areas. Do I want to edit this out? Probably not. And here is the Douro coming up. Here's Quinta das Carvalhas. And then, of course, we're going to get over there. We'll get into Douro Superior. Okay, done with the maps for this video, I think. Something to keep in mind is that these vineyards, they have a pretty big range in their altitude. So we're talking 80 to 500 meters above sea level. And the reason I chose this picture from Real Campania Velha, one, they seem to be the only, or maybe like the formal website for Quinta das Carvalhas. Also just a great website. Check them out. I think they're a tourism website, but lots of stunning pictures and history on the wine areas. But one thing we'll want to talk about at some point is, I know, now I have to remember what they're called. I think it's Solacares, Patamars, and Vinho ao Alto. I'm probably pronouncing all of that incorrectly. And to all of the Portuguese people, I seriously apologize. I will work on it. But the idea here, so you can see these are the, one sec. I'm going to make sure I have these names right. I was so close. Okay, so with the retaining walls, we're looking at socalcos. So they actually had to build retaining walls and plant vines in like basically one row behind each wall because it's so steep, and otherwise everything would erode. Then we have ones that don't actually have the retaining walls, and every individual terrace can be accessed by road, but it's still basically, they build them in line with the slope, essentially. And so they're a little less steep, but still fairly steep. And then when you start to see the ones that actually come perpendicular to the slope, that is Vinho ao Alto. They're planted in line with the slope. This method cannot be used on really steep slopes because, of course, everything would just wash down to the water. So all three methods of planting in this one picture, we can talk a little bit. I mean, I guess we talked about it. I was gonna say we could talk about it more in a future video, but that's pretty much it. That's the gist of it. This is done to help with erosion. Okay, now we'll move on to the grapes. You've probably just been dying like, hey, London, I really want to drink some wine. Could we get to the wine? So the 5 principal varieties of the Douro DOC are Touriga Nacional, which is often considered the highest quality of these grapes. Tinto Roriz, I don't know why Touriga Franca has its own box. I did not notice that before. Anyway, Tinto Roriz, which is also known as Tempranillo. You might remember it from the Spain video, you might not. If you do, great. If you don't, also great. Touriga Franco, which fits weird little box, is a little bit lighter of a the grape produces a little bit lighter of a wine, a little bit more aromatic in it. Tinto Barraca, I stole this quote, I'm going to steal it, I borrowed it from Wine Enthusiast. Tinto Barraca produces a rustic style of wine by itself. It comes from a vineyard at 1,800 feet, giving a cool feel and plenty of acidity, as well as barnyard black fruit. The aftertaste is juicy and spicy. So overall, a very delicious sounding grape. And then finally, Tinto Xiao provides smaller berries and really high acidity. So you can see how combining all these grapes at different percentages can give you just a really nicely balanced wine. So what am I drinking today? In a shocking turn of events, I actually took this picture, so that's why it's not credited. This wine, just show you the bottle also, it always do that, is 60% Touriga Nacional, 20% Touriga Franca, and 20% Tanto Ruiz Tempranillo. So what are we expecting based on these wines? This picture was also me. Please ignore the fact that I'm using a pillowcase as a background. So Touriga Nacional is going to be dry, medium plus acidity, high tannins, high alcohol. This gives us full bodied. We're looking for black fruits, herbs, some violet aromatics, probably. I don't know how much we'll get on the palate, and minerality. The Touriga Franca, 20%, is going to be dry, medium plus acidity, medium plus tannins, medium alcohol, giving us medium body. We're looking for black and red fruits, and I believe pomegranate is one of the defining characteristics of this one, but I can't remember exactly. Some pepper, spice, herb, depending on when exactly it was picked. And then this one sometimes has floral qualities, usually rose. Finally, we have the Tanto Ruiz, Tempranillo. It will be dry, medium plus acidity, medium plus tannins, medium alcohol, giving it like a medium plus body. And then we'll be expecting red fruits, some dried fruits, maybe like a fig or a date nut in there, earthy, savory notes, and probably some herbs. So let's actually drink. Portugal makes more than just port. That's one of the big takeaways that I like to make sure people understand. There are 5 primary grapes in the Douro, but there are, I believe, 11 more red grapes in Portugal. So we are certainly not done with red Portuguese wines. We will cover the wine laws in another video because I realized that whites have some special stipulations, and I kind of want to cover all the rules and laws at once. Next time, actually filled it in this time, we will be discussing Alsace, which is our first white wine under this new kind of PowerPointy video format. And if you would like to keep abreast of new episodes, anything else I decide to expand or launch, please like and subscribe. And that way you will always get the notifications. Let's drink. Sorry, I took a long inhale. It smells incredible. So let's go back to what we're expecting and check it against what we're actually getting. Blackberry. Blueberry, strawberry. I don't really get cherry. Plum. I do get spice, but I almost get more of a green peppercorn than a black pepper, so that's interesting. I like want to get anise, but I don't actually know if I'm getting it. Okay, I could see pomegranate. I'm torn between cranberry and pomegranate. Let's just go ahead and drink this. Definitely dry. Definitely acidic. I'm salivating so much. Oh, I would actually give it, man, the tannin, it's not high tannin. I'm gonna give it medium plus. It's a little bit tricky because I'm salivating so much that I want to say medium, but as I'm swishing it, I can tell there's like an astringent sort of drying effect. It's kind of hot. Okay, it says 14%, so we're pushing that high alcohol. And overall, I mean, I guess I would have to give it between a medium plus and a high body. A nice finish though. It's all fruits on the finish, which is kind of what we are looking for in a good wine. This is great. This is the 2015. I don't actually know if it's available anymore. I don't actually know where I got this wine. I have no recollection of getting this wine, which almost makes me think it's a splash, but I don't know if they do tour. I didn't actually check. So anyway, solid wine. I've heard the 2018 is also really nice, and it will be ready to drink starting this year, 2024. So if you have the 2018 version of the Douro Tinto, it's just a DOC. It is ready to drink, and it may be even better as we get a little bit later in the year. So hang on to it for maybe a month or two and go, drink something a little less expensive in the meantime. These are the credits. I could have taken, I guess, a picture of all the corks I have. But I wanted to share this picture and the credit that went with it because this person has a really interesting website, not so much photography, but it's all like generative AI. So if you are both a wine and a tech nerd, go check out Alicia Terrata because maybe it might be Elisha, I don't know. Super interesting website. Also, the Instagram is full of pretty pictures. So all of these places from climates all the way to WeatherSpark is where I got all of that climatic information. So climatic information. So hopefully that helps explain some of the climate that we're dealing with. And then of course the wine enthusiast article was here. And then I think, yep. This is once again me pouring literally this wine into a decanter. So thank you for coming with me to Portugal. And again, please like and subscribe so you can stay attuned to everything that's happening. I will see you next time as we journey to Alsace.